So, yeah, digging down to the raw oscillator. Somehow, mentally, you got to be able to strip away all that stuff and get down to just the raw oscillator. And then goal 2, you build up from there. So you find and pick and create that raw oscillator. Then you create the filter ADSR envelope, the amplitude and ADSR envelopes. Create the modulation routings if you need to. Add effects. And that's, that cloudy area. How do you do that? How do you create that in Reason or Record? And so let's listen to this thing and see if I can totally wing this on the fly and see if I can actually recreate this here. So
I love this. This is someone posted a suggestion in our forum literally minutes before we went on the air, and you just were like, "Okay, I'll try it." This is kind of you putting your money where your mouth is. Can it be done?
Yeah. And like I was telling you earlier, Ryan, it's like, I did that once on one of my seminars last year, and it's like, I'm going to redo that song by Real Life, Send Me an Angel, which I got the patch eventually, but I did that live when I was doing web seminars, and this one particular synth patch, I killed myself for 40 minutes trying to make it, and this concept I had about gating this filter just was not working, and oh my gosh, kill me now. It was so frustrating.
Right.
And I'll organize things here in my... let me kill this mix channel. That was a mistake. So I organize things here in my rack. So structure, reference, and then combinator 1. So if you look at, let's move combinator 1 down here. So it's all the same order. Structure, reference, combinator. And so combinator 1 is going to be my opening synth. So I'm going to call it opening synth. So let's listen to this track. I got the Thor in there with the mixer. It always names it mixer 1. I'm going to keep it mixer. And I'm going to call this Thor opening synth. And so, yay, finally we get to making sounds. So here's the opening synth. Turn off the click. I'm going to turn up the volume a bit so I can hear it better. Now what you guys are not going to hear, because I'm broadcasting in mono over to where Ryan is in Sweden, the sound's bouncing back and forth from right to left. So if I listen to just the right channel, I'm hearing the sound going dun, 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 but the left channel is going, quarter note or eighth note later. So there's this delay thing going on. So I'm going to recreate that. So let's listen to this. So there's a couple things going on. I'm hearing that main synth going dun, 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 dun. So let's pluck out those notes, even though this is the completely wrong patch.
But that's something to be said. I mean, you literally aren't concerning yourself with the sound yet.
Right.
Notes
I'm just
first.
worried about the notes first. So really, I just need this to be half this length. So here's that one little bar. One little bar in the heart of San Francisco. So, dun, 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 dun. So it's an A. So it's an A major. So that just comes from years of playing. I just heard it in my ears. I heard it in my mind. I fished it out on the keyboard. There it is, the A. So what I'm going to do is put the A note in there. So it's right there. So we'll draw our A right here. And it's set for 1/16. Let me make that eighth note so it's easier. So A, down, whoop, A sharp, down, and then the other A, an octave higher. Then the E for A major is E. Then the C sharp. So let me loop this left, right, and... see, I was off a bit. A bit. That's off a lot. Pull these back. So this can be copy and paste. So that's in there now. And it's not going to be a butt like this. So I need to change the note lengths of these. So change it to 1/16 snap and pull these back to a 16th. So there's my opening notes. So now I'm going to, any questions about just that? That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, Enoch Light wants to know, would you normally just play your keys as opposed to drawing the notes in?
A lot of times for stuff like this, I don't. I just use the mouse because it's easier than like entering the notes, and then I got to quantize maybe, and then I got to change the note length. And this is back in the day of, they probably did use some sort of tape-based analog step sequencer thing. So I'm just trying to recreate that feel, So no, I don't enter the notes in sometimes for stuff like this. If it's chords, yeah, totally save my time playing chords if I just play them. But for something like this, I'll just enter them with my mouse. So now I'm going to start sculpting this sound. So I'm going to listen to it again and see what I'm hearing. Let me mute mine. I want to hear just the song. So there's three things I'm hearing in there. I'm hearing the synth. I'm hearing another sound going like from measure 2 to, I think, let's see. And there's some other thing going on from measure 2 to 3, then it repeats with these notes. It's like a, might be hard to hear over Skype, but I'm hearing that. And there's also that definite, that sound that happens at the half measure point. So let's make that first primary sound. So here's Thor, and open Thor up. So now I'm going to play live so that I can, actually what I can do is loop from measure 2 to measure 3, loop on, and now go over to here and let it play by itself. Bring down the volume so I can talk and program. Opening synth solo. So now it's playing by itself. So I don't have to concentrate on notes now. I'm focusing on just the sound. So I know it's got like this, and I think the sawtooth wave here is probably the right wave. So I'm going to bring the filter down a bit, and it definitely has some resonance.
Interesting. It's already starting to take shape.
And I don't think there's an envelope on there. But there's definitely a keyboard. The higher notes had a more open sound. So now see, if you look at this, it's like, okay, the raw oscillator, let's turn off the filter for a second. If you look at just the raw oscillator, and there's like no filter envelope stuff going on that's affecting the filter because there's no filter. The amplitude envelope is, that's the default. And so if you listen to this, that's the raw oscillator. So that is what you're trying to search for when you're trying to program this stuff, is get to the raw oscillator, get to the heart of the sound. And I'm pretty sure it's probably the sawtooth wave. So let me undo what I did here and back to the filter I had. So that's what I'm talking about, like get to the heart of it. The heart of it is right here in this oscillator section of Thor. And then you go through the filters. So let's listen to the original again. It's here as a reference, so. There's a little bit of, let me turn that off. There's a little bit of amplitude release there. So I will program that. So it's sustaining a bit. And then there's that delay that's adding the extra note. So I'll do that now. I can turn off modulation. I don't want it. So tempo sync. So no feedback, and get it to a very short. So there's that sound. That's might need some reverb. Let's see what we got here. So a bit of reverb would help with that. And let me put this back to a normal volume. So does that make sense to everybody?
It does make sense. You make it look easy, but I mean, I guess in essence, it is easy. You're not doing anything radical. You just have become very good at the critical listening part.
Yeah, and that's why I was so lost with, how do I explain that? How do, it's easier than it. Once you learn all the parts of like Thor, it's easier than it seems. Because, well, as your ear starts to get trained to what you're listening to, it does get I wouldn't say easy. It gets easier. So it just takes time, it's a learning process. So let's put some reverb on there and see what that sounds like. Sounds like the original. That's because it is.
I was going to say, whoa.
I think I need open up the filter a bit. So there's that. Reverb really helped make it sound a little bit more like the original. Let's go back to the original. There's a bit of white noise in there too, so I'm going to make the noise filter, and I'm going to run that. Let me turn off oscillator 1 here. I'm going to put the noise filter through, or the noise oscillator through its own filter here, filter 2, just to keep it separate, because I might not want to run it through that filter.
A question that comes in from Huzra-O, he wants to know, why did you use the delay instead of using the release on the amp envelope? And I don't know if I understand it, because I think you used both, right?
Yeah, I did use the release on the amp envelope to have the each note sustain a little bit longer than its initial little eighth note length. But I used the delay to bounce that second note. You're not hearing it in stereo, but the original, the right channel or pan to the right is the dun 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 dun. Those 4 notes. Dun 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 dun.
Even in mono,
dun,
it gives it a little extra sort of slap feel.
Yeah. So when you have the delay in there, it's not going dun 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 dun. It's going dun 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 dun. It's that delay is adding that second note.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's why I did that. So let's see what the noise is doing here. So I'm going to, this is where I'm going to use the filter envelope. So notice filter 1 it has no envelope setting for the analog oscillator. This is why I routed it separately. So check out this. This filter envelope has no effect on that at all because there's 0 envelope setting on this. But if I go over to oscillator 3 on the filter, going through this filter, that's where I'm going to bring in some of this filter envelope to make it more of a decayed sound. So let me open this up. Hey, why did I lose it? Oh, right. I got to turn it on. Yes, I do get lost. So let's turn up the envelope amount. So just a bit of noise in there. And turn it on the drive. And now combine that with so we got the noise filter doing that. So there they are combined. So So it adds a little bit of character to the sound. And what else we got here? So there's 2 noise sounds in there. I might have to make 2 Thors doing that, because like a hit and like a slap back. So let's make another combinator. Any questions while I make this?
I don't think there are any questions. There's a lot of wows. And, oh, well, here's one. Yeah, here's a question. Rhythm Maker says, is there a little detuning in the original sound?
Possibly. Let's go listen. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing where I'll go back and I'll modify things later. But yeah, there's probably 2 oscillators in there. So we can go and add that in now. Opening synth solo. So you could make another analog oscillator or use a multi-oscillator, but I like the sound of 2 oscillators as opposed to like 4, 8, or whatever the multi-oscillator has.
Mm-hmm. Hey!
There's that.
Rhythm Maker.
See, it was that easy.
Thank you, Rhythm Maker.
Yeah. So that first hit is, let's see, it's going to be like just a noise hit. So I will make a little track here. And it's just going to be a hit, I think, right on the, so it's just a hit. So reference, let's hear what this sounds like. It's actually over here. Right there. So it's just a hit. So I can solo just my track. And it needs to sustain, so amp envelope goes up. Open up the filter a bit. Now what I can do, I might be able to do this with one synth. Let me put this way up high. Wait, did I move it? Yeah, let's put that.
What do you think? You have keyboard tracking the filter?
Yeah, it might just make it easier than making another synth. So keyboard tracking up high.
Is that the noise generator, or are you shooting more roosters over there?
No more roosters. Oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no. There we go. No, I was worried about the monkeys. Oh, boy. Hold on for a second, Ryan. All right, no more monkeys. It's terrible, isn't it?
It's, I would love to know where you got this library of zoo animals.
Let's see. Let me turn this down because it's annoyingly loud playing with noise samples. So I don't know if that's going to work. That might be too... It might be too different. Let me listen to the original again. Reference. And see, this is like a really tedious process. Yeah, I'm going to have to split that up because that's not going to work. It's just too unique. That first... The second one's got a definite sound to it. That's different from the first hit. So I need to open up this filter again. And now, see, as I'm building it, I go back. It's like, yeah, I got to change this. This has got to be more of a decayed sound with this amp envelope on this opening synth. Oops. Wrong Thor. This one. So slowly building, and let's make the other Thor, which will be, and I'll call this white noise 1, and then the other one will be white noise 2. Create combinator, and I'm going to skip the mixer. I know I'm not going to need it for this one. Create Thor, and this is going to be the other noise hit. And then for this one, I'm just going to drag copy that clip. White noise, oops. White noise 2. And I'm just going to move this note to where it needs to be because I copied that from the other one.
Oops.
Oi. White noise. And this is going to have the same kind of amplitude envelope settings. Let's see what that sounds like. So that second hit definitely has some filtering on it. So let's adjust that. No envelope. Let's see. So that first hit's too loud, so we'll bring that white noise hit down. And you won't hear it, but it's panned left and right a bit. And you can't hear that second one. We bring up the drive. So here's the reference. So more of a sound. It's like and there's reverb on it. So that is the gist of it. I mean, you can just keep going and going, and
right.
Let me put some reverb on this thing to make it sound. I mean, I don't want to kill everyone's whole afternoon or evening or whatever. This is totally, I mean, it's a process that you can spend hours doing this. And there's lots of more cool sounds in this song. But yeah, it could take hours.
But
but that's the gist of it. You just go through and you just start building things. And it all goes back to learning to listen, listen to these things. Learn
right.
what you're listening to.
It reminds me actually of a quote. We just did an artist feature with Timothy Jones, who's a UK producer, and he said, so much of music is trying to imitate something you love and doing it so badly that you make it your own. And I thought that's like, I think that's a really, that's a beautiful concept though, because how many times have we all, I mean, God, how many rock bands were just emulating other rock bands that they loved, and they ended up, I mean, the Ramones, right? Imitating rock bands they loved, but doing it so badly that it got its own genre name. So,
it's like a whole new thing.
Yeah. I think that's great, But one thing I thought was pretty cool about this, for me to see, is that we've spent a lot of time during Music Making Month looking at Thor, and people are going in and they're making wavetable synths, and they're doing FM modulation oscillators, and they're doing all this stuff. And it was almost refreshing to see you just go like, well, actually, that's just a sawtooth wave. Like sometimes the answer is just a sawtooth wave.
Yeah, simple is better sometimes.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that's on one of my slides here. Let's see, multiple oscillators in it. Sometimes it's not just one Thor, like I just showed. It's like it was two noise oscillators, so they had to be separate, even though they're both noise samples. It was two different Thors. Sometimes it's a combo synth plus a sampler. So you get all that from learning to listen. And then you need to understand, as we continue with this learn to create build, you need to understand that everything has variables. What type of reverb? Is it a plate? Is it a hall? Is it a room? How long's the decay time? What type of distortion? I mean, goodness, how many different types of distortion have we all heard? Look at how many Scream has. And then you've got all the Line 6 stuff that has amp models and so many variables. What type of filter? Is it a low-pass filter? Is it a state variable filter? Is it a comb filter? What type of sample? There's so many different variables that all go into this. And again, over time, your ears and your mind will learn to do this faster, easier, better. You just be patient. It's I refer to this sometimes as I think of juggling, where you can watch a guy juggle and he's got 7 bowling pins in the air and he's juggling. It's like the guy did not start with 7 bowling pins. You don't start there. You start with 2 what do they call them? Like 2 hacky sack little bean bags. You start with 2 and then you advance to 3. And so eventually, with juggling, at the point where you are juggling like 7 of these little hacky sacks in the air, these little leather pouch things, you're juggling 7. It's like you can go back to 3, no problem. 3 is a piece of cake. You can do 3 with your eyes closed. And that's what it becomes with this recreation thing, recreating these songs. You get to the point where it's like, oh, that's a string pad. Yeah, I'll just build a Thor. I'll throw a sawtooth oscillator on oscillator 1, the sawtooth on oscillator 2, detune -5, 1 +5 on the other. Run it through a state variable filter, turn the cutoff down the frequency, adjust the attack and release on the amplitude in the filter envelope, and run it through a chorus, and then an RV7000. There's my string pad. It's like you don't even have to think about it. You can just do it in your sleep.
Right.
But you don't start there, You start with just the basics. You open, RTFM. You open the manual. You learn, and you watch tutorials, and you watch other people do this stuff. And
I think this is, to a certain degree, I think I've seen over Music Making Month that there's a certain subset of people that don't want that to be the answer. We'll put up an event and we'll call it, hey, create any sound you want. And it's like they'll kind of tune in expecting to see you post the create any sound you want combinator where you just name the sound what you want it to be, and then it wires itself up and you've got it. But with some of the stuff, the answer is that there's no short answer, but you're building a skill set just like learning an instrument. It's like we had Josh Mobley on, and people are asking him, how do you learn to do these drum beats? And he was like, well, practice. That's just that's the nature of it. But if it's a skill you want to have, you practice, and you'll get it. It's not unattainable. It's just something that, if it were too easy, we'd all be doing it. We wouldn't be watching you learn how to do it.
Yeah. It is a skill, and it takes time. And I think that was actually my last slide. Learn to believe. Never. Can I underline this word? Never. Never let another person tell you that you can't do something, and never let yourself do that either. Never tell yourself that you can't. I'm 42 years old. I would love to learn to play the violin, and there's nothing in my mind that tells me that I can't.
No, you can't do that. You can't do that, Ed. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm undermining your slide.
Dang it.
Sorry.
Brian Harlan. Never let another person tell you that you can't do something. So if someone says, dude, you will never be able to program a synth like that. Dude, that takes years. Okay, it takes years. Start today. I mean, hey, you got to start somewhere. Another thing I like to think is be patient. Enjoy the incredible journey, because there is no destination. For me, it wasn't like when I started way back in 81 with my Pro 1, it wasn't like, you know what, dude, by the time I'm in my 40s in 2010 or so, I'm going to stop. It would be when I'm done. There's nothing else to learn at that point. No, there's always something to learn. Never stop learning. And then cut a new path. Don't always follow in the footsteps of others. Innovation might require a whole new beginning. And I always think of that like, and one side of me is like, it's good to look at other people's patches, but sometimes it's good to not. Build a better mousetrap. Well, if you look at someone else's mousetrap, that might lead you to, let me stop screen share. get back to my face so I look all important or something. So, build a better mousetrap. If you if you went up to like a 8-year-old and said, "Hey, we need to catch these mice," if you showed him a mousetrap, he's now on that. He's on that path. He thinks that a mousetrap involves a piece of wood and a spring that snaps a wire down, and that's how you build a mousetrap. If you don't show him the mousetrap and you say, "We need to catch these mice," who knows what that 7 or 8-year-old is going to do? He may make something where it's like, "Oh yeah, well, it's a tube," and then the mouse walks in and the door closes behind the mouse. Or another kid might come up with, a sticky trap where the mouse walks onto the sticky trap and the mouse is caught. But if you guide them in a certain direction and say, "Well, yeah, that's a mousetrap. That's how a mousetrap is made. We don't vary from that." No, sometimes it's not good to look at what other people have designed, and because you start, you get into that rut, like that's how it's done. Well, maybe that's not how it's done. Maybe, I think of like, how they treat certain illnesses. It's, they might be going down that same path where it's like if someone just took a step back, came in fresh, they might come up with the answer to cure that illness, or how to make a car that runs on water. Well, we all keep looking at the gasoline engine, and we're trying to take it apart and say, well, how can we make this run on water? Well, maybe you don't start with the gasoline engine. Maybe you start with something completely different. Sometimes it's bad to even look at the gasoline engine. Don't, like, if I was going to make a gasoline an engine based on water, I wouldn't even get into looking at how they built gasoline engines, because I want to start from total blank slate, white page, blank. Okay, I need to make an engine. How do I make an engine? And if I'm not swayed by what's already been done, I might come up with something that no one's ever thought of before, and I think that's better.
Interesting. A question that came into the chat, somebody wanted to know, how long does it usually take you to make one of these full recovers?
Some take, I think some of the shortest ones I've done take like maybe 3 hours. Some have taken 3 hours a day for 8-9 days straight. I did one. Let's see if I can pull it up here.
I was speaking to someone in the office here today, and they said, "Oh, who's on tonight?" And I said, "Ed Bauman." And he went, "The Human League guy." And
yeah, I thought that would be me.
That's that's how you become known, huh?
Yeah, the Human League one kind of kickstarted things on YouTube. I posted that one, and then someone did an article on some DV24 magazine or something, online magazine, and then it just like really kicked things up, and all of a sudden I got all these people following me on YouTube now. It's not huge, it's not like I'm gonna go on tour any minute now, but
Enoch Light in the chat room says the Human League cover is simply spot on amazing. It's true. It is actually spot on amazing. T Vox Sound wants to know where you're getting your 80s drum sounds from.
Well, let's see. That's a good question.
Scrappy Doo there or something?
Yoink, that's a good question. Some of it is, there's this refill that I use called Drummer Boy, which has some old drum machine sounds in it. Let's see what's in here. Drums.
S. Foreman saying Drummer Boy rocks.
Yeah, I love Drummer Boy.
Oh, and so Drummer Boy with a little heart. That's fancy. I don't even know how he made a heart.
I think that's left. It's the less than sign and the number 3.
I just did it. My mind is blown.
Yeah, so what is this? Where did I get this? Let's see. I don't know. Good question. I think that is Drummer Boy. Yeah, it's Drummer Boy. Let's see. Snare 04. What if I clicked on this? That's Drummer Boy. Oh, you guys aren't seeing the... Here, let me pull it over to this... I got to pull my file browser over to this window. Oops, here. There we go. Come on, Ed. So, yeah, here's Drummer Boy Refill. And so that kick is from a DDR30. The snare is from a... Oh, it pulled it over again. Is from a Lin 9000. It's snare 4. And this is another one of those things where it's like, well, how do you know it's snare 4? Well, it's another thing where you just got to spend time with your refills. If you've got 97 refills, you might not know where to get that snare. But if you're only, I really spent some time with Drummer Boy and got to memorize what these sounds sound like. So when I heard that in the Human League song, I was like, I bet that's a Lin 9000. And again, do your research online. Find out, what did they use? Did they use a Lin 9000? I don't know, but it sounds like they did. Here's the tom came from a Lin 9000. That's probably a Lin 9000 again, too. Yep. Hi-hat is what? HR16. So the Alesis HR16. So Drummer Boy, very cool refill. That's where I get a lot of these samples from.
Who's a what's it's like? Who's Rao had asked about sort of a formulaic recipe sort of question. Is there a sort of way that you can look at it and say, sine wave for this type of sound, triangle wave for this type of sound? Can you boil it?
That's another one of those things where experience, you get to learn, and that's and one thing I do recommend is if you want a quick crash course in learning to identify these wave shapes, just create a Thor and take out the filter and watch out for the volume because it'll be loud. So let me bring that up. So get to learn what that, and here, put the amp envelope, no attack, no decay, no release, just pure sustained, 100%. There's no filter here, so the filter envelope doesn't matter. And then, so here's this plain old analog oscillator with the sawtooth wave. And play that and get it in your brain and listen and learn and remember what a sawtooth wave sounds like. You can go to a triangle wave, and it clearly has a different sound. And even a sine wave is even purer. It's just a single tone. And then you got a square wave, also known as a pulse wave, has a different type of tone as well. So it has a unique character. And then you could change the pulse width of the square wave or pulse wave. So they all sound different. So you just learn over time how to identify something. When you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, it's a sawtooth. I myself sometimes get a little confused when I hear a sound. It's like, oh yeah, it's a sawtooth. And I find out later, like, no, it was a pulse wave. But
right.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time, learning.
Somebody asks about... Well, I'll just read it as it's written. Is this dude made online classes? I think this means, do you do online classes? Does this dude make online classes? I will translate that from chat speak to human speak.
If you go to my website, which is baumanproductions.com, I did 5 seminars last year when Reason 5 and Record 1.5 came out, and there was blocks and sampling and Kong and what else? I forget offhand. But if you go to my website, Bauman, Bauman Productions.com, you'll see a little button or a little word there that says Edited for TV. If you click on that, it takes you to a page where you'll see something about my online seminars from last year. And they're not available yet, but I did record them, and I'm still editing them. And
cool. It's
the same thing where I just go step by step, knob by knob through all those new devices. So I did do some of that for the new devices.
There's Mr. Twist has put a link to your site in the chat. Tell you what, let's take some last questions. So flip back to your beautiful Ed Cam, and we'll take some questions from the Peanut Gallery, and then we'll let them get back on with their lives. Everybody send in your last questions here while Ed gets his camera back up. And
we lose half the audience because their lunch is over.
No, man, they're hanging in. We still got a lot of viewers sticking in here. Yeah. So, let's see here. Question from Gavbot. Questioned: is there a characteristic keeping me from being able to recreate heavy guitar sounds? It is very expensive to get current sounding heavy guitar sounds. Can I make overall? What does it say? Wait, hang on a second. It's very expensive to make current sounding heavy guitar sounds. Can I make those noises in a synth? Guitar sounds. Can you make a guitar with a synth?
Yeah, you can do guitar with a synth. It's tough. The hard thing about a guitar is that you need to be able to play and think like a guitarist, which sometimes is really hard. But I've got a lot of mileage out of... well, let me see. Here's another recover. Let me see what this is here. I got a lot of mileage out of, detach rack window. There is, I think it's the Strat Edge with mutes. It's an NNXT patch, and that thing is awesome. I love that NNXT patch.
Huh.
And I did a version of Missing Persons Walking in LA, and I mean, check this out. Let me go back to my screen here.
Cool.
This is...
While you are going back to your screen, a question from Ben Joe 72 asking if there's somewhere you could post the PowerPoint.
Yeah. If you go to my website, baumanproductions.com, and then look for the Edit It for TV button, I'll put it in there when we're all done here.
Cool.
But yeah, here is Rick came over, Rick Silvestri, and recorded the actual guitar. You can see these actual guitar tracks here. But as a rough, when I was first working on it, I did all the guitars with that Strat Edge sample or patch for the NNXT. And so let me turn off all the real guitar stuff, and you can hear just the Strat Edge sample in the factory sound bank. So that's the Strat Edge. So if you just do it by itself there, it's kind of phony, but it's got some great stuff that you can really, and especially in context.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
And you could even do some wanky stuff like here at the end of the song. I mean, if you listen to this without the distortion, it's actually pretty funny what's going on. Well, you can do, let's see, let's turn off the distortion. I got two different distortions. So here's the end of the song. It sounds ridiculous. Right, so that's by itself and no distortion.
That's the sound of the Poison concert when their luggage got rerouted to the wrong city. So
we're going to play through a realistic amp tonight, guys. Sorry. So here's that same thing with Scream on it. This part that sounds pretty cool right here. I mean, if you were into that stuff back in the 80s, that kind of sounds like what it was. And then here's context with everything else.
Wow. Huh. A question, Ed, that comes in from Navi Retlav. The question is, how do you recreate the sound of rain, and is it possible to recreate an entire jungle sound and animals using only synths? And my question would be, why? Why would you do this? Go to soundrangers.com, search for jungle, pay $2, you'll get the sound.
I did a thing in my refill, blatant plug. I did a thing in my refill, Reasonable Help, that I released. It's got to be a year and a half now. I did a thing called Thor Winter, which Rain is hard. Rain is really hard to recreate because then you get into this whole area. It's like if you keep listening and listening and listening, to you it's like, yeah, I think I got it. I think it sounds like Rain. And then like you show like your friend or something, it's like, and you tell him, what's that sound like? And he's all, sizzling bacon? You're like, oh, God, no. You show someone else, what's it sound like to you? Like a car on the road? It's like, people hear different things. To you, it might sound like rain. To someone else, it's like, that doesn't sound like rain at all. But Rain is tough. Really tough.
Right.
I don't know if I tried my Reasonable Help. Let's see if I can find it here. Thor Winter. Here it is. And I did a rain, I did wind, and each one is a individual Thor. And you could buy Reasonable Help on my website.
Oh, wow. Look at that. The plug just rolled right out.
Here's Thor Winter. It's one combinator. I did not remember that.
Uh-huh.
So
Pat Hammy says it is worth every penny. So there you go.
Oh, Pat Hammy, yeah. Here's Thor Winter. Let's see. Let's run this thing. Let's turn off. Oh, let's turn on. Oh, here's just wind. And you can adjust wind strength. And it does some modulation stuff. It's all random. Here's thunder. I bet that's really coming over on Skype, huh?
Getting some low rumble there.
Here's rain.
Oh.
You could change the rain tone and density. And there's some other controls on the Thor itself for the rain. Where's rain? Wind, thunder, rain.
Navi Red Lab, I
tone.
stand corrected. You can do it, and it's a worthwhile endeavor as well.
And what's in the rain Thor? It's 2 noise oscillators and a bunch of crazy modulation bus, routing section stuff going on. Oh, that's right. You're looking at me, not Thor.
That's all right. G's Music asks, where's this patch? This is a patch that you said it is available on your website?
Yeah, it's the refills on my website, BaumanProductions.com, and look for Edited for TV, and then there's a thing there for Reasonable Help. You can go buy it today.
Cool. Well, look, we have set the record for longest Music Making Month event.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
No. You're a trooper. You've hung in here, and we've all hung in with you, and it's awesome. But for the sake of, think of the children. For the sake of the children, we should cut it and let everyone get on with their day. And you certainly get on with your day as well, because we could keep you here all day talking to you about this stuff. But thank you, Ed. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I think it's been, really great to see the way you think, the way you approach it, and I love those moments where it's like it's just a sawtooth wave. It's just filtered and it's got a little detune on it and stuff. Because I think a lot of us think that making these synth sounds is so much alchemy, and it's not. It's just practice, and you have the answers. It's a finite number of oscillators. It's a finite number of settings on a few different synths that are in the Reason Rack, and that's it. Yeah. So awesome.
Yeah, totally.
It's great. It's great to see that. Yeah, simple is better. It's great to see you demonstrate that, because it sort of reassures all of us that sometimes it's just that simple. So thank you so much, and we will be seeing you, I'm sure, on our forums, and we'll be seeing you around. This is not the last Propellerhead community that you have seen of Ed Bauman. That's for sure. Awesome. Take care, Ed. And
thank you.
We will talk to you later. Waving us out. Awesome. So listen, guys, that is going to do it for us tonight, and we are back. We'll see. Actually, tomorrow James is with you. I'm not going to be with you tomorrow. You got James Bernard, product specialist and guru to the stars. He's going to be taking your fan suggestions. So if you haven't already, take a look on our Propellerhead Facebook page. We've got a big thread going there, and we've also got one going in our user forum on our website, taking suggestions. You suggest the topic, and James is going to pick it and do them live. We'll do it live, like the, what is that? Who is that? Bill O'Reilly, the Bill O'Reilly viral video. We'll do it live. So that's going to be with James tomorrow, so check that out. It's going to be awesome. And I will see you back here on Thursday? I don't even know. I don't even know my schedule. But anyway, listen, guys.
Since the first microchip.
Send your music to me. You can send it via the Twitter hashtag MMMPropSongs, and I'll be playing you here at the beginning and end of the show. And otherwise, I'll see you on our next episode. Tune in for James tomorrow, okay?
Sound is electronic. The sound is sexy. The sound is electronic. The sound is sexy.